Birth control without a prescription could soon get the green light to be sold all across the country. A panel of FDA advisors meets tomorrow to weigh the risks and benefits of what could become the first birth control available over the counter. They are reviewing a trial done by the makers of the drug Opill, in which 900 women took part in the 30-year-old medication, without guidance from a healthcare professional. At the end of the meeting, the panel will make a recommendation to the FDA, who has the final say. With a look forward at what we can expect from the FDA, we want to bring in Peter Pitts. He's the former Associate Commissioner of the FDA and President of the Center for Medicine in the Public Interest. Thank you so much for your time today, sir. We appreciate it. So the FDA already posted an initial review of the Opill application last week, raising some concerns about the data in the trial. What are those concerns, and what does this mean for the approval process?
Well, obviously, the Opill's been around actually for 50 years, via prescription through the FDA. And the FDA wants to understand whether or not it can be used safely and effectively without the intermediation of a healthcare professional, a doctor or a nurse or even a pharmacist. And the FDA has some serious questions relative to some of the data that Perrigo, which is the manufacturer, has supplied. These are studies also from the 60s and 70s. A lot of holes there. The more current research is very small, so we don't know whether or not there's enough data to actually make a sound decision. Obviously, when it comes to a drug moving from RX to OTC, one of the key indications is whether that drug can be used, safely by a woman. And in this case, this pill, which is a progestin, which is a progesterone artificial product, whether people that have women that have breast cancer or who have unusual vaginal bleeding shouldn't use this product. So whether or not a woman can know that by buying it OTC. Also, whether a woman who has not spoken to a healthcare professional can understand that the drug has to be taken more or less at the same time every day so that it is effective. So there's some important questions relative to the data being supplied, and also if there's robust enough data for young women under 18. When the FDA moved Plan B, which is the morning after contraceptive, from RX to OTC, initially that same question arose, and the company went back and had to do additional studies. So a lot of questions on the table for this advisory committee that's meeting tomorrow and Wednesday.
So you're raising these questions about the studies, but I guess why now? Why are we hearing about this right now, given the fact that, like you said, this pill has been around for decades with a prescription only? So what changed?
Well, the company that manufactures the pill asked the FDA to consider a switch from RX to OTC, which is why all of this is happening right now. And after this advisory committee, the FDA will go back and consider its decision. So I suspect we'll probably have an FDA decision by the end of the summer or Labor Day, appropriately, I suppose, whether or not this pill is going to go OTC.
So should the FDA ultimately approve it, who benefits the most from having this pill available over the counter?
Well, there are pluses and minuses. Obviously, some people will argue that an OTC, a birth control pill, will enhance access for lots of women. The problem is that once a pill goes from RX to OTC, it's not considered coverable by insurance. So women will have to pay for it out of pocket. So it certainly isn't going to lower the cost of the medicine, although I guess if people don't care one way or the other, that's there. I think, I don't have a crystal ball, but I think if the FDA does approve the RX to OTC switch, it will be, a significant advance for broad access, but it certainly is going to have some consequences relative to out-of-pocket cost for a lot of women, and we can't ignore that.
Given your time with the FDA, you know how the process works. Do you have any concerns about this pill? Because we had someone on earlier talking to me and Lindsay, saying the science is pretty solid.
Well, I certainly have complete confidence that it's not going to be a politicized process, which I think these days is very important to repeat, and we can't say it enough times. This is a scientific conversation. Obviously, if you are for moving the product from RX to OTC for non-scientific reasons, you're going to say the science is sound. The FDA clearly has some questions. I think they're legitimate questions. And I think it's important that that the FDA has asked outside advisors to weigh in on this situation. It's quite appropriate.
So just real quickly, what's this process like moving forward? How soon could we see this Opill on shelves?
Well, I think tomorrow and Wednesday we'll see a very scientific review of the data. The company will present its data. The experts will ask a lot of questions. They'll also ask questions of the FDA reviewers who are in charge of this proposition. And I think if the FDA, if the panel votes yes and the FDA chooses to agree with it and approve a RX to OTC switch, you'll probably see something like that by the end of the summer, which means the product would probably be on the shelves. Hard to say, maybe winter of 2023, but that's really a company decision.
All right, Peter Pitts, former Associate Commissioner of the FDA and President of the Center for Medicine and the Public Interest. Thanks for coming on.
My pleasure. Thank you.